Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today I'm taking you to the Mega Master League, where a legend of Pokemon Go PvP past is trying to core break Gyarados and Zacian with level 50 Raikou. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, the one and only Boygos, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Boygos has been out of the game for a while, hasn't played in a year or two, but today he is back. A limited time engagement running Raikou, Primal Groudon, and Zacian. Now, these battles are pre-rank 20, so we'll probably see some interesting movesets and plays from the opponents, but I'm just here to see Raikou take names. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and we're off to a pretty good start in game number 1, leading Raikou into Gyarados. Gyarados is going to play to the CMP tie here. Raikou is going to make it to the Aura Sphere as Gyarados goes for the Crunch. Crunch is going to connect, dealing some pretty substantial damage. Raikou is able to grab a shield right back. Raikou able to get to the Aura Sphere in only 2 Volt Switches on the second one. This Aura Sphere is going to land, and that is devastating damage to the Gyarados. Gyarados will go for a last second Aqua Tail. Raikou will shield. Now there's going to be a safe switch into Zacian. Zacian looking for a farm down that it will not get, as Raikou makes the Wild Charge. That's going to connect, dealing big damage. In comes Groudon, and it looks like this Groudon has opted for Mud Shot. More often than not, we see Dragon Tail used, but on this particular team, with how weak the team is to opposing Groudon otherwise, having a little bit of fast move pressure into it is pretty nice. In the back is Ho-Oh. The Fire Punch is going to be thrown on alignment, going for Fire Punch number 2, just looking to slowly chip away at the Ho-Oh. Unfortunately, Mud Shots are not doing a ton of damage. Ho-Oh will make it to a move. Groudon is going to be shielding. It's going to be the Sacred Fire bait from the opponent, but luckily it does not appear that they got an attack drop. Another Fire Punch coming out from the Groudon. This Fire Punch is going to be grabbing the shield. There's a simultaneous switch. Raikou into Gyarados. Back in comes the Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is able to get that farm down. And now, I think at this point you kind of just have to fully sacrifice the Zacian. In comes Zacian to get absolutely smacked with a Sacred Fire. In comes Primal Groudon. Groudon does get to this Fire Punch. It's resisted damage, but it will be enough. Down goes Ho-Oh, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Raikou into Primal Kyogre. Now, this is a matchup where Raikou is able to win if shields are down, but if shields are up, just the sheer damage output from Kyogre means that Kyogre is going to take the 2 shield. Raikou baits with the Aura Sphere, able to grab an early shield from the opponent. Raikou going to be shielding back. Raikou, I believe, can win the ones by landing a Wild Charge here. Going to go for an Aura Sphere bait. If the opponent shields, I believe they can get a farm down, as Raikou just does not have the health needed to survive the waterfalls. With the Groudon in the back, you definitely have to bring in Zacian. Zacian farming up a ton of energy. Interestingly enough, this is actually a Play Rough and Behemoth Blade Zacian, so it's going to have significantly better play into something like a Palkia. In comes Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh has farmed up a ton of energy. Shields are down. Do they want to debuff their defense with a Brave Bird right away? They say yes. So they are going to be debuffing themselves. But now, does this mean a Precipice just one-shots? Precipice is going to land. That's almost a one-hit KO. In comes Kyogre. Kyogre does not get the farm down. Groudon making it to the last second Fire Punch. Fire Punch is going to connect. Zacian snipes down with a Metal Claw. In the back is Dialga. And this is going to be a tricky game. A matchup where close combat would be beneficial, but Play Rough will do a lot. It's a race to the move. Cannot get to the Behemoth Blade, but Iron Head should barely not knock out. Iron Head lands. Zacian survives, and that's going to be a win as Behemoth Blade picks up the knockout, taking down Dialga. Hopping into the next match, Raikou finds one of its targets as it leads into Zacian. Raikou being able to resist Metal Claw means that in the 2-shield, Raikou is going to emerge victorious. Opponent, they try and CMP tie, and that's going to cost them as they give an entire free Volt Switch to Raikou. Raikou at the back-to-back Wild Charges, looking to ramp up the pressure on Zacian. Zacian no shields, that's big damage. Raikou immediately following it up with an Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere does get shielded. Now we see the safe switch into Groudon. Groudon going to be answered with Zamazenta. That is not an answer to Groudon whatsoever. Ice Fang hits for neutral due to the ground fire typing, and the Fire Punch bait is successful. If the opponent goes for the Behemoth Bash, it will do basically no damage, but if they go for the close combat, then they're getting KO'd by a Fire Punch, because a Fire Punch onto a -2 defense Zamazenta is going to one-hit KO. In the back is Gyarados. Oh, what a catch! able to bank the energy on the Groudon and catch onto the Zacian. Zacian's gonna try and get to this play rough against Gyarados. Gyarados continues to farm. There's the switch into Zacian, and they're gonna snipe. Zacian will fire off this close combat. Close combat does not KO, but in comes the Gyarados, and Gyarados is able to deny that play rough with its Aqua Tail. Raikou's gonna need to get to a Wild Charge. Raikou trying to get there, settling for the Aura Sphere, but Gyarados makes a move. Can Raikou hang on here? It's gonna be close. Aqua Tail does not KO. I can't see the health bar, but Raikou did survive. Aura Sphere gets it to 1 HP, and one Mud Shot from the Groudon means this is a win. Great lead in the next match. Raikou into Ho-Oh. And trying to time 4 turn into 5 turn is going to be an absolute nightmare here for Raikou. Raikou actually ends up winning charge attack priority over that Ho-Oh as Raikou baits with the Aura Sphere. The Aura Sphere bait is successful, grabbing a shield. The opponent is at enough for the Sacred Fire, but they end up going for a Brave Bird, confusingly enough. So Brave Bird means they're going to take way more damage from the Volt Switch. Another Aura Sphere, this will actually knock out, and Ho-Oh will get to make a last-second charge attack. Raikou has to decide, is it worth the double shield? Raikou says yes. Opponent safe switches into their Zacian, and Zacian is going to get absolutely crushed by this Wild Charge. Wild Charge lands, in comes Groudon. Groudon racing to the Fire Punch and getting there. Groudon looks like it's going for an undercharge actually, wanting to get a little bit of extra energy. And the undercharge leaves the Zacian at just about 1 HP. So the Zacian will land the close combat, but now Groudon is up energy. If it needs to try and outpace something, it's going to be Gyarados in the back. Gyarados will outpace. The opponent overfarms too much. They may have forgotten the fact that Groudon undercharged to get that little bit of extra energy. Gyarados gets sniped down by Raikou, and there's just nothing the opponent can do. Oh, that is such an unfortunate miscount from them. Hopping into the next match, leading Raikou into Primarina. Primarina able to fire off this Hydro Cannon as soon as they get it, as they do get the Hydro Cannon on perfect timing. Raikou is going to build up to the back-to-back Aura Spheres, looking to try and get those shields back. The Aura Sphere bait is successful. Raikou farming up to another Wild Charge. At this point, honestly, an Aura Sphere might just knock out, as Primarina's stats are not the best. Primarina does get KO'd. In comes Ho-Oh. And now Raikou's going to be full, sending the Wild Charge. Only revealed Aura Sphere so far. Wild Charge is going to be shielded. And now here's a safe switch, and in comes Groudon. Groudon will take quite a lot of damage from a Brave Bird. Brave Bird is going to be no shielded. The opponent switches out into Zarude. I was expecting to see like a Gyarados or a Mega or something. This trainer is running a triple non-Mega team. They have no Mega available to them. And unfortunately, that means that Groudon is just going to run absolute riot. Zarude is getting KO'd. They're going to bring back in the Ho-Oh. The switch to Raikou. Raikou wants this Wild Charge, but cannot get there. Raikou faints as it makes it to the move. In comes Zacian, and he's once again just sacrificing Zacian. Zacian going to get blasted with a Sacred Fire, but now in comes Primal Groudon. Primal Groudon has to shield everything and needs the Precipice Blades to take home this win. Ho-Oh, well, if they go for the Brave Bird, then even a Fire Punch would KO, but he's going to get to the Precipice Blades anyway. Precipice Blades is going to connect. Down goes Ho-Oh, and that's going to be a win. Raikou into Kyogre in the next match. This is the non-primal Kyogre, which means they probably have their Mega in the back. They save switch into Groudon, and this team is very, very weak to Groudon. Aura Sphere will land. That does do some solid chip damage. And now we have the battle of the OG Groudon versus Primal Groudon. Primal Groudon puts up the shield, and that proves to be a wise decision as the opponent full sent the Precipice Blades. Now, OG Groudon does not resist Fire Punch, which means Fire Punch will actually do a ton of damage. Primal Groudon is going to get to Fire Punch number 2, and this will, again, easily knock them out. They're going to get KO'd and bring back in Kyogre. But Kyogre is not the Primal Kyogre. Oh my goodness, Primal Groudon bluffing like it has the Precipice Blades. It doesn't have it, but the bluff is successful, able to grab a shield from the opponent. Aggressive switch into the Raikou. Raikou going to be hit with a Thunder. Why did the opponent throw a Thunder there? I will never know. In comes Mega Gengar, and he's going for the Wild Charge. Wild Charge into Gengar is going to land. Big damage. Gengar gets farmed down. Back in comes Kyogre, and these pre-ranked 20 battles are a roller coaster. Oh my goodness. Aura Sphere lands, getting Kyogre low, and one extra Volt Switch will secure the win. Hopping into the next match, oh no, it was Kyogre lead last game, now it's Primal Kyogre, and we know Primal Kyogre just outputs so much damage. Raikou is going to strike first with an Aura Sphere bait. Kyogre will put up the shield. Kyogre farming up a lot of energy, but not going to let Raikou get the wild charge. Raikou would have loved to get that move and force the final shield, but unfortunately, the opponent said no. This does appear to be a slightly underpowered Primal Kyogre, which means this last second waterfall does not knock out, and Raikou can actually win the twos. Raikou picks up the KO, in comes Mewtwo, and Mewtwo will now swiftly be answered with the Zacian. Zacian farming up the opponent, not even bluffing a Focus Blast. Focus Blast would only hit for neutral damage, but it would still inflict a lot. That's going to be the Shadow Ball coming out from the opponent. The opponent, oh, did they just catch out of their own Zacian? Oh, Behemoth Blade connects. That's devastating damage. In comes Primal Groudon. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Raikou into Kyurem in the next match. This is going to be a Dragon Tail Kyurem. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with the Dragon Tail counts. I believe this is just a Fusion Bolt, but Raikou will put up the shield. Raikou will be able to return fire with some heavy hitting Aura Sphere damage. Aura Sphere is going to land. Raikou farming up, gonna bank some energy, save switching into Groudon, and out comes Ho-Oh. Making it to the Precipice Blades. Unfortunately, the Incinerate does go through, as Precipice Blades will inflict big damage onto Ho-Oh. Even if Ho-Oh is able to land the Brave Bird, it will not knock out. Groudon's gonna no shield. They're on Solar Beam, and Solar Beam will not KO either. Groudon making one final move. It is going to be the Fire Punch. Fire Punch does get shielded. Oh, it looks like Groudon's gonna make even another move. I underestimated the bulk of Primal Groudon. Groudon makes another Fire Punch. That's gonna land. It just does not KO, but Ho-Oh is forced to throw a move. Ho-Oh is on Sacred Fire Solar Beam. What a moveset. In comes Raikou. Raikou now going to be answered with a Mega Tyranitar in the back, and I don't think Tyranitar is going to like these Aura Spheres. Aura Sphere does get shielded. Raikou is able to outpace and make it to Aura Sphere number 2. This Aura Sphere is going to land big damage and a switch and a catch onto Zacian. Zacian absorbing that brutal swing like it's nothing. In comes Kyurem, but Kyurem can't ever really inflict meaningful damage. Kyurem goes for the Fusion Bolt. Zacian does not mind that whatsoever. Opponent realizes there is not a win con, and they will concede the match. We move to the next match, and Raikou picks up a type advantage lead leading into Keldeo. Keldeo not appreciating these Volt Switches whatsoever. Raikou can survive whatever Keldeo throws here, but a Sacred Sword would inflict some solid damage. Raikou farming up, now going to go for the Aura Sphere bait. Aura Sphere into the Keldeo, gets no shielded as the opponent has a ruthless bait call, and now they're able to make another move. Raikou double shielding. This is a risk because we don't know what the opponent's Mega is going to be. They're waiting down their clock. Oh no. And that's going to be game over. They have a 2-shield Primal Groudon. It's on Mudshot as well to add insult to injury. As I mentioned earlier, Dragon Tail is usually going to be preferred. Unfortunately, the fact that his Mudshot is even worse for this team, as the opposing Primal Groudon is going to fully sweep. Fire Punch picks up the KO. In comes Primal Groudon, so we have the Primal Groudon versus Primal Groudon matchup. A full sack swap of the Zacian. Zacian gets banished by a Precipice Blades. Groudon hoping for a farm down, but unfortunately it's never going to get a farm down. Groudon goes for the Fire Punch. That's going to be shielded, making it to another Fire Punch, but I believe this is a CMP tie now with the Precipice Blades. And there it is. There's the Precipice Blades right on cue. Precipice Blades lands. Down goes Groudon. And unfortunately, that's going to be a loss. Hopping into the final match, Raikou into Dawn Wings Necrozma. Now, this is a pretty bad Pokemon for Raikou to see. Raikou really relies on having a type advantage. In neutral matchups is where it's going to struggle. Going straight for the Wild Charge. Wild Charge lands, dealing big damage, and now in comes Primal Groudon. Groudon will respect the Moongeist Beam. Opponent will full send the Moongeist, so that proves to be a good shield. Out comes Mega Gyarados. And this is going to be tough. Gyarados just has such a big pacing advantage, being able to spam out these Aqua Tails. The Fire Punch bait is successful, but Gyarados is going to get 2 Aqua Tails before they get their next move. Gyarados goes for a Crunch. Are they Crunch Hydro Pump? If they're Crunch Hydro Pump, then suddenly this matchup is not nearly as bad for the Groudon. Precipice Blades is going to get a shield, and there's a switch back into the Raikou. Raikou doesn't have any shields left, so the Crunch is guaranteed to land. Crunch gets a debuff, in comes Dawnwings, and Dawnwings will immediately get KO'd by the Wild Charge. So the opponent was able to keep that Gyarados around. Gyarados gets the farm down, and now it's going to be up to Zacian to try and take home the win. Zacian's going to need to get rid of this Gyarados and still have enough HP to deal with whatever's in the back. Opponent goes for a Crunch. I guess they thought they couldn't get to the Hydro Pump. All they've thrown in this matchup is Crunch. I assume they're not single moved. This is pre-Reg 20. Player up picks up the knockout. It's going to be Zamazenta in the back. Groudon gets to the Fire Punch. Fire Punch guarantees some damage onto the Zamazenta. Oh, Zamazenta gets absolutely rocked. Zamazenta will have to debuff itself with the Close Combat if they want the knockout. The Close Combat still doesn't KO. It's a simultaneous KO, and that's going to be a win. All in all, I had a great time getting the Shoutcasties battle, so many thanks to Boygos for sending them in. Raikou is a Pokemon that I really wish had a few hundred extra combat power, because I feel like with extra power, it would be able to handle those neutral matchups better. But even with its stats as they currently are, I think it's a pretty funny anti-meta core breaker into Mega Gyarados plus Zacian. Now, you definitely need shields up to beat both of those, so as far as competitive viability for Raikou, it's definitely more on the spicier side of things. It's anti-meta at best. If you're just looking to gain elo during this week, I would not lean on Raikou as your Pokemon of choice, but it's really fun seeing some of these less heralded legendary Pokemon still be able to, you know what, rise up to their full potential and get some wins. As far as Primal Groudon, we know Primal Groudon is absolutely cracked. In this footage, he was using Mudshot, presumably because outside of that, his team is extremely weak to an opposing Primal Groudon, so he wants a little bit of fast move pressure there. Overall, Dragon Tail is going to be the more consistent moveset for Groudon, but all in all, these are some very, very fun battles, and I liked seeing Raikou get to take down some Megas along the way. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.